Hey guys, okay, before I get too deep into the situation, I'm going to just say a few things. Now, for those of you who are already sharp to the situation of Pokemon Sun and Moon, who have already put out their own little theories of Pokemon, what's going to happen with Gen 7, what's going to happen with Gen 7 anime, what's the Pokemon list for Gen 7. First, I'm going to say this. As much as I would like to believe that this so-called versions that have been put out about Sun and Moon and how they think that the series is going to somehow change the game of how we play Pokemon now, I'm definitely going to just jump into how it's going to be entirely different than what it already was. So stay tuned. Okay, now that we're back in business here, I'm going to specifically talk to you guys about a my general thinking when it comes to the legendary Pokemon for Sun and Moon. Now, clearly, as you can tell, given the names, the silhouette for Pokemon Moon and Sun is literally the silhouettes of a sun in a crescent-shaped object. Now, generally, when we look at this image, it makes you think that it's either Solrock or Lunatone, which could possibly mean a Mega Evolution or Primal Evolution, which clearly is not the case. So, anywho, the simple fact of the possibility of a legendary Pokemon being a potential large-based, what they want to call an Amaterasu, which is Japanese for sun god, or a crescent-shaped legendary, or in this particular case, by the looks of it, the way it's tilted, could possibly be a bat-like, or hopefully it's not another dragon type, because I really cannot stand any more dragon type legendaries. So, with that being said, we have a lot of information to go over, but at the same time, I'm going to cut this video short, only to the simple fact I wanted to explain the possibilities of each of these legendary. Now, as you can clearly tell by the colors of Sun and Moon, it is already dictated that the legendary Pokemon, which may appear to be a sun-shaped Pokemon, might be a fire type. And like with Pokemon Moon, it is possible that the legendary could be a moon or a bat-shaped Pokemon, but have a water typing, or possibly water or dark, or entirely new, or it could be an entirely new type altogether. Now, in my expectations that come towards Pokemon Sun and Moon, I really don't think that when it comes down to, I mean, it's been almost 3 years since we've had Pokemon X and Y, and which means it's almost been 3 years since we had the fairy type Pokemon. So in general, if there is a new type introduction in Sun and Moon, I can only imagine that these legendary Pokemon would be that debut of that type. Much like when Xerneas and Yveltal were, originally revealed, a lot of people thought that Yveltal would be a new type altogether, given the fact of its designs on its wings. Now, as you can see from the images, that it's not much to go with, because they're clearly just silhouettes. Maybe they're just, silhouettes or just cover art. It's probably going to be an entirely different legendary Pokemon than what I'm saying, but at the same time, let's look at it like this. We know when it comes to the sun, a lot of people during ancient times, both in the Japanese and the American history, all thought that the sun was a god in one case, given to the fact it could give nourishment and energy to all life on Earth. And as it already has been explained in natural science, that if the sun were to go out, all life on Earth would be extinct. So, if anything, a Pokemon to have power of such a magnitude, which in this case would have that to surpass Groudon from Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire, and then later Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, we have a reason to believe that a Pokemon of such magnitude could cause a lot of issues for both the protagonists and antagonists of the games. Now, the reason I say that is because even though it's rumored that Pokemon Sun and Moon will total the Pokemon's list up to 791 Pokemon, it's still left to believe that some of these lists may not be real. Now, the reason I think that this legendary fire type Pokemon could possibly be a surreal issue is due to the fact that a Pokemon that is said to control, the very life on Earth, much like Arceus, is a lot to go with. Because, like I said, considering that science has already proven that if the sun were to go out in our world, all life on Earth would be destroyed. So, if a Pokemon that controls all the world's heat is capable of manipulating it to the point where its heat could melt a hole in the entire planet itself, could cause a planetary devastation. Now, on the other hand, we have Pokemon Moon, which is a crescent-shaped type Pokemon, which I think is possibly a wing designed for a larger, flying, maybe, hopefully not a dragon-type Pokemon, which could probably be a water type, water fairy type. Who really knows? But by the color, I'm willing to describe a Pokemon as being freaking, water, given the fact that it cannot be heat without water, because we both know oxygen and hydrogen create water. Now, as we know that in science that the world is made 75% of water, which means the other 34% is human life and animal life. So just like with the legendary sun type Pokemon, this crescent shaped Pokemon has already made it known that it was in control during ancient times, and we know that the moon is actually capable of controlling the tides every full moon. So if the sun and the moon were to exist in the same scenario, which a lot of you have probably noticed this already, but the sun and the moon can be seen sometimes during the day when it's, say, early in the morning. Now, should the tides be considered uncontrollable, the Pokemon that's based off of Pokemon Sun would be able to subside the water to the point of where it will create oxygen. So basically, what I'm explaining this from a scientific point of view, because when you heat up water, it boils and then evaporates. And with a Pokemon that controls the tides, it can continuously generate a large amount of water, and then not only if it collides with the Pokemon based off Pokemon Sun, it would create a counterbalance, and then in this case, would the two finish colliding, it would create a balance in nature. So I know a lot of you may not understand that, but if you actually think about it for a little bit, the sun and the moon all have a part to play, which means in Pokemon Sun, the legendary Pokemon has a part to play, and Pokemon Moon, the Pokemon has a part to play. And in the middle is, in this particular case, is the Pokemon Magiana, which a lot of us have not gotten a lot of information from. But I'll keep you guys posted with a lot more than that. So without further ado, I appreciate you guys watching the video. Drop a comment below, and I'll see you guys next time.